Hello and welcome to the Blaston Commentary series or something. I am your host, Robo President. This is the video podcast where we talk Blaston news and game craft. We critique my awful gameplay as it is shown here, and we do it all unscripted because scripts are for simps, and I hate them. I despise them. Glow Up update. It is live. We are graced with a new update. We are roughly, I would say, about 24 hours into the release of Glow Up. And I've had about, I would say, 6 hours of that time to digest some gameplay from the new update. So I've got some opinions, and we're gonna throw them out there. Is this update good? We're gonna find out. We in our previous episode discussed some of the when I'm gonna use the word leaked. It was a pre-released patch notes. I'm not gonna cover that again. There's no need to. There it is right there. Right. Whatever. If you want to discuss, all those patch notes are exactly the same. There's no need to talk about them again. Just go watch that video and then come back if you want to know about what the balance changes were without the attachments. So let's talk about what was added in Glow Up. Real quick before I jump into this. This episode was actually supposed to come out yesterday, and I totally goofed. I recorded everything. I did 30 minutes of audio, and I didn't realize I left my voice mod voice changer on the entire time, and so the entire audio track was a loss. So we're re-recording again for everybody. Yeah, Robo moment. Anyway, so there's lost media of super deep voice Robo of this episode. It exists. It's out there, but you'll never hear it. Anyways. So let's start with the skins, right? Because this is the Glow Up update. So we got some cosmetics, and we got plenty. So Lix being our favorite girl boss, right? The girl. Well, okay, but it's 2022. Perhaps I should not be so presumptuous. Lix. What? Oh, wait. She is referred to as her in the update patch notes. Okay, I was not being presumptuous. So Lix has always been the face of Blaston, and today we're switching up by giving her a new look with the legendary demonic skin. So with a more aggressive look, we will see this as an alter ego, the face of the main character that you know and love. So all the sweats out there that run Lix, because Lix is known as the sweat skin, you can now sweat even harder. There it is. We've also got Clammos and Argentina. They are now wearable skins in the Blaston Iceberg video. Clammos has actually been in the game files for a long time, several updates back, and Argentina has also been in the game files as a skin for that same matter, although not so much as a known secret. People have known that you could wear Argentina. The model is there. You just couldn't access it. So these have now been released to the general player base, which is cool. I love this. This is the kind of stuff I love. I love to see. This reminds me of, I'm going to go back. It's a boomer moment. We're going to go back. You remember stuff like Recon and Halo, right? With just armor that was a secret that you weren't supposed to have, and they finally give it to everybody. Love that stuff. So Clammos is now wearable. I immediately bought him, and Argentina is now available as well. So that's both are really welcome additions to the game. I am hoping that this means that Ozobear, because Ozobear does exist as a model in the game, we will get Ozobear at some point. Maybe he is being stashed away for a future release. And maybe if I just keep begging, and they'll keep telling me, Gymbox, you can't have Gymbox Robo because it doesn't make sense. We can't release him because there's no audience for Gymbox. My friends, comment below if you want Gymbox, because I want Gymbox. Everyone wants gym bobs. It'd be the skin of the century. Clammos will be my go-to skin for the time being until Jim is in my arms where he deserves to be. We got a new arena, Great Stone Valley. So, yeah, the Quick Draw Arena is now playable. That's cool. Desert Arena. That's awesome. So, yeah, well, it's Welcome Edition. We've got plenty of new attachments, which we are going to go into in depth here in just a moment. But let's talk about a very, 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 very welcome edition. The Blaston Championship 2022. A couple episodes back, I did an episode on VRML. And we talked about how those of us that have prior obligations, prior life obligations, things that we need to do, it is hard to schedule. I've had some discussions in the Discord where some people may not feel that way, and I understand. My personal opinion was it's when I work 10 hours a day, and then I only have 5 hours a day to myself. The last thing I want to do is schedule a game with some random dude and get it figured out and have all the just one more commitment to my plate. It is absolutely wonderful to see that there clearly has been some feedback about adding league play as an introduction and not diluting the player base. This was the perfect way. I didn't have a perfect solution for that in my video. I think in my video I talked about a league queue, right? I didn't have a good enough way to fix the issue, but this is way better. So players can join by playing the ranked mode, joining weekly Blaston challenges, or participating in community tournaments and fight for the lion's share of an $11,000 prize pool. So awesome! That's great news. So, I mean, do we know who's going to win the NA prize pool? Yeah, it's either going to be an 18-year-old who's banging his way across Europe, or a 14-year-old who sits in front of his headset all day. But it's still, still awesome that it's there. So, Blaston Championship cosmetics, banners, and universal weapon skin. So this was also released in the trailer we got. So with the launch of the Blaston Championship, we're adding a few more cosmetics to the game so that you can get fully into the competitive spirit. You'll now see the Blaston Championship logo in the arenas. So on where the VRML stuff used to be on the sides, I think it has now been replaced with Blaston Championship logo. And you can now represent your region with a European or North American banners available in the store. Exclusive finalists and winner banners will also be given out to participants who qualify and win the regional finals. Oh, and we've added the universal weapon skin that you can get in the store. So more glow up stuff. So tons and tons of great cosmetics here. Now, let's get into what everyone's pining for. The attachments. So, first, Hammer Ellipse. So, Hammer Ellipse, our big boy shotty, the most meta weapon of all time, got 3 attachments. Now, when we talk about some of these attachments, and I got some playtime in with some of these attachments, some of them are the same across the board. When we talk about them, on paper they sound the same. In practice, they actually function a little bit different. So the only weapons I've used most of the attachments so far. I haven't had the chance to use the vector attachments yet, and by most accounts they don't sound very great. And I haven't had the chance to use the Nova attachments yet, but I have had the chance to use all the hammer attachments, the lance nade attachments, the raptor attachments, and most of the viper attachments. So we're getting there. So I can give you kind of my opinion as we go along. So we start with Hammer Ellipse 1, increases the projectile curve force. So this actually doubles it. Well, it says in the menu that it doubles the curve force. And what this does, at least from my personal experience, this sort of changes the profile of how you curve your bullets and how you set up your clamps or how you set up your curves in general. So the best way, I mean, clamping and curving in general usually comes from the wrist with some arm motion involved, but you kind of get some control from wrist positioning. This attachment makes flicking the wrist more of a thing. And you can kind of do a sort of Viper hammer flick. And I don't know if... I think in the balance patch, let me see here, was that... Yeah, Hammer E is not listed as having a tightened spread. And from my personal estimation, it appears that Hammer E1 has a naturally tighter spread. Just looking at some of the footage that I recorded today. So, yeah, an interesting attachment. Where do I see the use in this attachment? Well, if you could still set up clamps with it. It's a little bit harder to set up the classic clamp, but you can sort of do like flick clamps with your wrist and get a blast of projectiles on target quicker because because when you're flicking your wrist for that faster curve force, they are traveling faster. You get more granular control in a sense. So if you are really good at clamping and you want to try something different, why not? It's there. It's kind of a neat thing. Then we have Hammer E2, which is decreased projectile speed and decreased damage. So this was actually, when I saw this on paper, this sounded like the good one. I thought to myself, wow, this is the Hammernade, the slow Hammernade of the Hammer E attachments, and I assumed that this attachment must be the new meta attachment. It had it, just from the sounds of it. Having used it, I don't think this attachment is, I don't think it's going to be that way, and here's why. So you drop your projectile damage from 4 to 3, and the slowness, it's there, but your shot pattern, it makes the spread of the shots so wide because they're moving so slowly that you're trading that setup time for density of shots, and so you really lose that shot consistency that you need. You lose that pressure because your opponent can just drop block stuff out of the way. Remember, drop blocking got buffed this time around. So I really don't think that's the way to go. I didn't use that attachment very much. I tried it, just didn't have a lot of luck with it. Personally, not my favorite. Hammer Ellipse 3. This one I had a ton of fun with, and it was the complete opposite of Hammer Ellipse 2. Because on paper, when I saw increased projectile speed and damage with less projectile health, I thought to myself, wow, that sounds bad. You want to be using Hammer Ellipse as a combo starter. It shouldn't be your main source of damage. I mean, if you get a ton of hits with it, that's awesome. But mainly you're using it for zone control and wrestling somebody into your main line of fire and punishing them for moving around, right? But using it works just the same as stock almost. I mean, the speed increase, you can still clamp just fine, and it does 5 damage per hit. If 2 of your pellets hit, that's like a Raptor E hit. I mean, yeah, it's good. I have had a lot of good luck with it. Yeah, so I can see that one and stock still being used, and one will definitely get used once people get used to the wrist mechanic, because it's a different way to play it, and I don't see 2 getting used a ton. But overall, attachments, I think they're pretty cool in the Hammer Ellipses case. Let's move on to the Lance Nade. So the Lance Nade finally got some attachments after after Weso and I's video where we talked about Blaston weapon updates through the years. We lamented at the Lance Nade's sort of lackluster state. It's never really been a fantastic weapon. Some of these updates, or some of these attachments, actually put it in a better spot. So, Lance Nade 1 gives it a sort of comparable, it's sort of the damaged lance attachment. So, the normal lance, which is your normal ion beam weapon, for those of you that aren't familiar, you know, you fire your two lasers and whatever. Right, so the first attachment for it adds more damage, but less duration on the lasers. This is the same thing, but for the grenade, for our lance grenade. So the lower duration on the laser existing, but higher damage. So you can get some cheeky little just like pot shots in with the lance nade. Somebody makes a quick mistake, and there goes 17 of their health. So pretty good attachment, especially because you can get weird angles with the lance. You come out from the back. You can guard off the back of the podium. You got some slippery little eel that likes to go to the back of the podium to do their dodges. Maybe you can punish him for a small mistake. I think Lance Nade 1 is fine. It's a good attachment. I think it's better than stock. Lance Nade 2 increases the number of lasers. This is the big one. It's been a little controversial so far, but I've been having a lot of fun with it. So Lance Nade 2 increases the number of lasers with less damage over time. So then what ends up happening is, now when the lance nade detonates, it'll disperse 3 lasers in sort of a triangle pattern. And the lasers will last about the same time as normal lance, but they only do 2 damage per tick. But the big thing here is now you've sectioned off such a larger part of the podium. And the nice thing about lance nade is it's a lot more difficult to counter than other grenades, because you have way more deployment options. You can deploy it up close if you want to, and if you need to, you can also deploy it like a normal lance. And this tri-pattern even enables you to do that if necessary, although its biggest strength is throwing it outright behind you almost. What I like to do a lot is throw it up to my left or to my right, and get it out of the range of people's Vipers, and get it out of the range of people's Raptors, get it out of the range of people's shields, and pretty much the only thing I'd have to worry about is a Vandal. And it'll deploy those 3 lasers, and now they've got lasers in there, in the sky, beams from God that they have to worry about, and people bump into them more often than not. And for 4 seconds, it's a piss taker. It harasses people. It's pretty good. I quite enjoy it. And then with Lance Nade 3, lowered startup time with lower duration time. I can't see that being any better than 2. Although I haven't tried it, so maybe I shouldn't knock it till I try it. But it's there. So that's it. I think the idea here was another Instapot shot sort of style attachment. But I think with Lance, you want to punish people for making a small mistake. So you want to do as much damage as possible. Either you make the beam larger by volume of fire, or you increase the damage in the beam. 1 and 2 do that very well. 3, I don't know if that's the way to go. Let's get into the Nova Helix. So Nova Helix was very controversial at the time of its release. We talked about that ad nauseum, Weso and I. And some of these attachments kind of take it back. It's like it's a throwback. So Helix got a little bit of a buff in general. It had its cooldown reduced. Well, it was supposed to. If you look in the menu, it doesn't look like that's the case. However, so Helix 1 had an increased projectile speed and damage with smaller projectile arc. So I assume that this is pushing for even more offense, but less utility on that end. Helix 2, 1 less projectile. Projectile arc starts wide and then shifts to a smaller clamp, so very reminiscent of the classic Nova Helix. And then 3, 1 less projectile, and projectiles that split. So sort of like it's like the splitting projectile fad that's happening with the Hurricanes, if you will. And I kind of ripped. I don't have these attachments just yet, so I stole 24's footage since he has no life and already got every attachment already. So yeah, that's how those look. You can look at them right there. There they go, 2 big balls. Then we get on to the Novocaine, the Nova Hurricane. So Nova Hurricane used to, I think, be pretty decent and then kind of fell out of relevance. I'm hoping that this update will help it be a little more relevant. 3 attachments. Increased falling speed and damage. That mirrors standard Hurricane's Hurricane 1 attachment, in which if you want to put more pressure on somebody and less trapping time, there's your attachment. Nova Hurricane 2, decreased firing cooldown and damage. So maybe you're trading damage, but you want to put more shots on target, or maybe have a tighter cluster of shots. I would say that the point of that attachment is not necessarily, like, you can retain some trapping ability, but maybe that's better for defense. What I mean by that is, one thing Nova Hurricane was good for is if you, let's say you got like Wildcat pushed or Raptor pushed, so someone's pushing you with a Wildcat or Raptor, and you happen to have your Nova Hurricane in your hand, you could often fire the Nova Hurricane into the volume of fire and help deflect what you were, and you need to do both, combination of dodging and deflecting, and it would be a pinch defense in a tight situation if you needed it. And so maybe that would help with that, I would assume. And then Nova Hurricane 3 mirrors Hurricane 3's splitting projectiles. So you get 1 less projectile in the magazine, so you get 2 shots. But then when those 2 shots reach the top of their arc, they split into 2 other shots. So you get 4 total shots if they survive and they are not shot down by, somebody with a Vandal or something. So pretty interesting. Then we get to the Raptor. I've had a chance to use all of these, and they're pretty neat. So Raptor E1 increases the projectile curve force, so very similar to what you'll find in Hammer E1. On paper and in the game, it sounds exactly the same, doubles the curve force. But I would say in practice, they feel a little different. So I would say that it personally, I think that Raptor E1 is a straight upgrade over stock. Now, am I always super happy about straight upgrades over stock? Not really. But Raptor E1 gives you way more control over your shot pattern. So for example, I think the best way to use Raptor E1 is alternating fire, so you shoot left, right, and if you can master that, then Raptor E1 gives you more control in that regard. Then we have Raptor E2, decreased projectile speed and decreased damage. So yeah, this is like a combo setup thing. I think it's fine, I guess. It brings it down to 8 damage over 10, and then your projectile speed is slower. But kind of the point of Raptor is you want shots on target to go quickly. This is not a combo setup weapon, so I don't know if this is what you want. I really don't. And then we have Raptor E3, which I've been having fun with. So this increases the projectile speed, but decreases the accuracy. So personally, using alternating fire, so left, right, the shots will move much more quickly, and you might miss 1 or 2, but I've been having way higher hit rates with Raptor E3 than I did over stock, because those, I don't know, just maybe RNGesus has been kind to me. So yeah, those are the Raptor E attachments. Vector. So Vector got some attachments: increased projectile speed and delayed projectile startup for Vector 1. So I would assume here that this is, just from the sounds of it, it sounds like, it's going to start out slow and then speed up. That's probably the one to pick, because you want Vector projectiles to be zippy and annoying. That's kind of the point. Little bee stings. Vector 2, decreased projectile speed and decreased damage. I don't know why you want this. Sorry. Vector projectiles are very low collision, so when they move slowly, they can just get drop locked out of existence and of no consequence to whoever just drop locked them. Yeah. And then we have Vector 3, increased projectile speed and less damage. So, yeah. That one, I mean, I don't know. These attachments are kind of... yeah, Vector's still in a weird spot. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what else to say about it. It's just, it's in a weird spot still. So then we have Viper E, so the one that everyone is clamoring for. So I have gotten the chance to use Viper E1, which increases the projectile curve force. I suck with Viper. I wasn't able to hit jack squat with that increased Viper curve. Oh my goodness. It just wasn't for me. I could hit more people with Raptor E1, and Hammer E1 was fun, but man, Viper E1, I completely screwed my aim. So maybe if you're a champion Viper player, that's for you. It's not for me. And so I am terrified to see how that will turn out for Viper players. Viper 2, I'm still working on the Viper attachments because I suck with Viper, so it's going to take a very long time. Slower projectile and damage. Fires 3 projectiles in a burst. So just from the sounds of it, anybody who's unlocked this, I haven't seen it in action yet. I don't know if this means it fires the whole magazine all at once, or if you get 3 shots. I'm going to assume that it's the entire magazine. Hopefully I'm not wrong in that assessment. But if I am, well then I guess Sloyd will come tell me I'm wrong. And then Viper E3, slower projectile and higher damage. I don't know why why would you want that? You want your Viper to be quick. Zippy. You want that 30 damage, you want it now. Because if you miss, then you get no damage. 30 damage is better than no damage. So, yeah, so those are the attachments. I have really liked them so far. And other attachments have been balanced out. We talked about those previously. Getting to see some of those in action has been nice. I will say, I was not 100% sold on the idea of nerfing fast Wildcat, but it is, it's at least if nothing else, it's a nice quality of life change to not have Wildcat pushes in your face every game, at the very least. It didn't bother me very much because you could still dodge most of them, but it did get, I think it was getting a little old. So, yeah, I guess that's fine. But I don't know if it was the right idea to just send it into oblivion. Whatever. I've been having a lot of fun with Wildcat 3, so I like Wildcat 3. Other changes. Let's get the other changes out of the way before I give my assessment of the update so far. So rank changes increase the range of players being able to match up in all levels of LP. Yes, this is true. I've been getting some 1,800 people, and they have been having a very bad time, so sorry. But this will allow for more games. Other updates. So we've gotten the logos, banners, universal weapon skin pack, and out of bounds texture warning more clear and appears earlier. And some bug fixes. So now we get to what we've all been waiting for, or well, what you've all been waiting for, that is. And what does Robo think? Maybe you don't care. If not, then I don't know why you're watching. But what does Robo think? I think this is a pretty solid update. I think the devs have done a pretty good job here of putting in the work to try to fix some issues with the resources they have. I think it's clear that the Blaston team doesn't have all the hands that they need all the time, and if they could fix every issue, they 100% would. I know they would. They're doing the best they can with what they have. And this is evidence of that, because every time whenever there's feedback in the Discord, it gets directly addressed, and you can see it here for the most part. We can see that here with the attempts to make out of bounds zapping more clear. you know, I would have personally, right? This doesn't mean the decision is wrong. It's just my personal suggestion was making it exponential to like that way little accidental corrections weren't the end of the match, but making it more clear is a good attempt, in my opinion, at least trying. Like that means that they're listening, 100%. Not to mention that the Blaston Championship, I would assume that this was probably in the cards for a while, even before VRML. It's not like VRML happened and they went, oh, hey, let's do this too. This was probably on the roadmap for a while. But I would assume that seeing that the devs probably saw a lot of good players that wanted to play, they just didn't have time to play in VRML because it's hard to schedule matches and whatever. I think it was awesome to integrate it into the game. And that's evidence that they listen 100%. It's shown time and time again. And not to mention the balance patches that we've already discussed. The only balance patch that I disagree with is just on Nova. I think that Nova, Tank Nova was, of the two Novas, because I know that there was the pendulum swung back against Bounce. So Bounce had a little bit of a, you know, people had a strong reaction to Bounce. So Bounce weapons became the target. And Tank Nova wasn't touched. I think that of the Bounce weapons, Tank Nova was the least annoying because you could counter it. And it punished you for not paying attention to it. But Tank Nova is generally just annoying to deal with. And you can deal with it, but the only thing with Tank Nova is because if you bring if you're good with ellipse weapons, you bring an ellipse weapon to the fight, you can overcome a Tank Nova. But if you came with the wrong loadout and you weren't prepared for it, you're just gonna get stonewalled. So I think Tank Nova is still just kind of a shield bunker masquerading as a Nova that also has the abilities that Nova has. And I wish that Bounce Nova wasn't hit so hard with the nerf hammer. In fact, maybe not at all. And Tank Nova got it instead. That's just my opinion. However, that does not sour my opinion of this update. I think this update is now, I'm not just saying it because it's new. I didn't actually get the chance to release my opinion on all. So I was doing a video on, and I'm pushing it back again because all this new update business. My favorite update before this was the Fierce February update, and I think this topped it. 6 hours in, I'm probably having, I mean, I've always had fun with Blaston, but I'm probably having the most fun I've had since that, like, time in right after, you know, 2021 first kicked off. This kind of takes me back to that a little bit. So I'm having a blast with it. I think it's a lot of fun, and it's good. It's good. Robo seal of approval. Yeah. It's pretty strong overall. I have no major complaints. It did not make me want to write a massive paragraph. Yeah. Because, I mean, Quick Draw made me write a massive paragraph, and so did Reloaded. And that doesn't mean that I know I personally didn't like Quick Draw very much, but I enjoyed Arctic Blast, and Reloaded, I had fun. Did have some balancing issues, but I had fun. This is like the culmination of everything. It's all coming together. I think it's pretty dang sweet. The only way I could see someone having an issue is if you took advantage of the sort of broken balancing in the previous update, and now you've been nerfed, and you're gonna be like, oh no, man, they took away my stupid freaking bounce, and now I can't get my cheapo dumb kills anymore. Well, I don't know what to tell you, man. It was in the cards. Because you didn't have it before, you had it for one update, and it was resolution giveth and resolution taketh away, and you put your cards in a in a not evergreen play style. So yeah, this is a good update, and I would say that anybody who disagrees, well, just lighten up a little, man. So yeah, that's all I've got for today. Thank you for joining me on this wild ride. There is no way to get off, ever, and Mr. Bones is not here to let you go. I am Robo President. Please be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, yada, yada, yada. We're trying to get Blaston to blow up here. We're trying to, exploit the YouTube algorithm, pumping out videos as much as possible. That is the point. I appreciate you guys sitting around and listening and watching. I will catch you guys all on the next one. See you guys later.